Greetings. Welcome to NASCAR America Debrief. Nate Ryan here with Kyle Petty.
Yes.
Just two of us today on NASCAR America Debrief. We're taking your comments. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you see that little chat box to the right. I'm monitoring the questions and comments that you put there. We'll be taking those and also taking your phone calls left over from NASCAR America Motor Mouth. So let's start by going to the phones, Kyle, and let's talk to Justin. Justin, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
My question is, if under caution is strictly, they don't want anything going on during caution, if they would have changed the rule and said, okay, if you're going to wreck under caution and you're in the championship contention, if they stripped that from them, do you think that would stop the wrecking and everything under caution?
Listen, I'm going to say here's the problem. We don't need a rule for every freaking thing that's out there. Right. That number one. This happens once a year, twice a year. If that much. It's not like this happens every single week. So I think you have to look at each individual event.
Yeah.
And try to stay within the boundaries of whatever you've done in the past.
Yeah.
And whatever the circumstances are, weigh that and then see what.
Because you don't want to disincentivize to the point of like, okay, if you intentionally wreck a guy under yellow, we're going to take your NASCAR license away permanently. You'll never race again. Yeah. I mean, at some point, it doesn't. I mean, it's heat of the moment. You want these guys to live in their emotions.
Yeah. You want. It's like we talked earlier. That's the sports part.
Right.
That's where in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the competition, you make a bad judgment. We see it in football games. You see it in basketball games. You see it when somebody charges the pitcher's mound in a baseball game. It's poor judgment, but it happens in the heat of the moment, and you have to judge accordingly.
Let's pick up a YouTube comment from Chevy Roll 48, continuing on a discussion we had in Motor Mouse. In regards to Truex wrecking Johnson after the checkered flag, should NASCAR let drivers have at it in terms of doing that after a race? Or should they get out and settle it like drivers with their helmets off?
Well, yes. No, I will never, ever, ever condone drivers after a race, before a race, during a race, using a car.
When you use it as a battering ram as opposed to a race car.
And never. If I've got a problem with you, I need to get out and come to you. You need to get out and come to me. And whether we leave our helmets on or we take our helmets off or whatever we do, then we need to settle it. You need to settle it like two adults, like your kindergarten teacher used to make you settle it. They set you down and you talk about it. You know what I mean? Right. So I will never condone the use of a car and settling anything. I don't think that settles anything. Not only does that not settle anything, cost the owners, cost the crews, and now I've made your crew mad. So not only are you mad at me, now everybody that works at your shop's mad at me, so I'm not for that.
All right, back to the phones. Brandon, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief. Brandon?
Hey, guys. So what I was wondering is, do you think the rule that makes drivers declare for points in one series really working correctly when it seems to be affecting drivers like Ross Chastain more than Kyle Busch's?
That's a good question. That's an interesting question.
I think Brandon's onto something because I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. Does it still make sense to even have drivers? I mean, aside from keeping Cup drivers out of the lower series.
For me, I believe that if the Cup drivers come down and run a limited number, and I think NASCAR has settled on a limited number, although I don't like that number, I will say that, but they have settled on a number. I think between the Xfinity and the trucks, you should just be able to float back and forth. I don't see why not. So I do. That's an interesting thought. I need to think about that one a little bit and not give you my typical diarrhea answer on that one to give you something a little better. But that is an interesting thought. Yeah.
I mean, what would be the benefit, I guess, of changing? I mean, to me, like what I see in it is right now, I understand why Ross Chastain had to choose.
Yeah,
but
I do too.
You're penalizing this great story, this kid who raced every series for the first 2 months.
Yeah, everything.
And yet, why? I understand why they do it for Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
but
I do understand.
Why should a guy like that be limited in earning points in every series?
I think once you, and again, once you get to the Cup, I understand the penalty. but you're not technically a Cup driver per se, even though you're running 3 series.
Right.
I think you should be. I think they should be able to bounce between the series.
Right. I have some YouTube questions for you from 18 Diego DD. He said he watched the Australian Goodyear 500 a couple of days ago and saw that you were in the field.
Is that from Melbourne?
Must be.
Yeah, must be. Must be. I drove DK's car.
Really?
Yeah, DK Orr's car.
Was this like a V8 supercar?
No. We ran Thunderdome. We ran the Oval. A guy named Bob James built a racetrack. Basically, it was a copy of Charlotte in Melbourne, Australia. We went over in the mid '80s. I think I was driving for the Wood Brothers. Myself, Bobby Allison, Neil Bonnet, Michael Waltrip. There was a handful of us went over. Dave Marcus. We went over and ran a race there. So yeah, it was fun.
Okay, mid '80s, you said?
Yeah, it had to be.
Okay.
85, 86,
88.
87.
Okay, 88. I'm being told.
Okay, 88.
I was about to use the Google, but
yeah, there we go.
People
I went over and
do
ran
that for me.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
It was fun.
Let's go back to the phones. Yeah. Talk to Billy on NASCAR America Debrief. Billy, welcome to the program.
Love the show, guys. Quick question on Sonoma moving forward. Any of those manufacturers tend to have an advantage over there in Sonoma? And for both of you, give me a dark horse pick to somebody that you wouldn't think would do good in California that will.
Wow. You know what? I think Sonoma, especially with the carousel. I will say that, especially with the carousel.
Yeah.
I think it's more like the Martinsvilles and the shorter racetracks where the racetrack's an equalizer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to benefit a manufacturer. I don't believe. And if I had to pick a dark horse, golly, man, if I really had to, I would go with a Daniel Suarez or a Michael McDowell, somebody like that, who I think are really good road racers,
right?
And could put themselves in position to win a race.
Yeah. I like your McDowell pick because I think people forget. I think he actually had a lot of experience. Came up as a road racer. In terms of manufacturer, I mean, that's an interesting question. I don't think that you favor Ford and Toyota because of the body style or the car, but I think the driver lineup, Billy, I would say Toyota and Ford, I mean, you're talking Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin. Yeah. They're all coming from 2 manufacturers, but it's more based on drivers than car.
Yeah, but and again, because I think it goes back to, it just takes the equation, the cars out of it. And NASCAR has streamlined and consolidated their engines program so much that I don't think there's huge differences in that anymore.
I feel like we get this question a lot, but it's pertinent again this week with Sonoma being Sunday's big event. Do you think NASCAR will ever go back to a Mexico or Montreal? This is a YouTube question.
You know what? Golly, man. And I say this, I wish they would. Mm-hmm. I wish that we went to a place like that, but I also wish that we went back to Wilkesboro. I also wish we went to Milwaukee. I also wish we went to Road America and places like that. I think there's enough racetracks for, this was a Southeastern sport, an American-born sport, and I think we need to maximize the racetracks we have in this country first. Whether it's Iowa, we just saw some good racing at Iowa. I thought solid racing this last weekend. So I think we need to, I'd rather see us go someplace like that before we went somewhere outside the borders.
So your ideal schedule, no track gets more than 1 race. Except maybe no track tracks?
Yeah, no track gets more than 1 race. Okay. Daytona, maybe, just because it's Daytona. Yeah. Okay. And the 500, I don't even consider the 500 a race. I consider it an event. You know what I mean? I mean, it's outside the realm of what you look at. But yeah, my perfect schedule would be, let's just keep moving and run once, because God, man, we get into that 1.5 miles and Jimmy Johnson wins the championship 27 times because we run 18-mile-and-a-half racetrack. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
if you only run that one time, it takes that out of play.
Yeah, the diversity is good. Dennis is on the phone. Dennis, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Thank you. First of all, you guys shouldn't be able to take time off. My question... You guys make the show. My question is, watching the Xfinity races, they have the composite body, and when they hit the wall, they continue. There's no yellow. However, in Cup, whenever they hit the wall or brush the wall, we always see usually a yellow and a cut tire. What's why, what's the difference, and why doesn't Cup use the composite body?
Cup's headed to composite body,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think what they did, what NASCAR usually does, and what they've done again with this, is they'll try stuff in that series, in the Xfinity Series. They try stuff and say, how does that work? What's the bright spots? What's the pluses? What's the minuses? And so far, I don't think they've come up with any minuses. It's easier to tech the body, to understand what that is, so they don't have as many people, as many variations on their body style. Mm-hmm. And just as you say, when they get up against the wall, they come in, they go back out. It's not as big an issue. So is that for 20 or 21?
Well, I think definitely for 2021, when the
yeah.
Gen 7 or whatever
Yeah.
Magical word they're going to come up with for the new chassis debuts, that will be composite. But there's been talk recently, Kyle, that they could fast track the composite side of it, possibly the 2020, because, to Dennis's point, which is a good one, there's a lot of momentum for it right now.
Yeah, and listen, the composite body, when they first came with the composite body, and we saw it at Daytona, and we've seen it a couple other places, it brought the more underfunded teams closer, aero-wise, to what the funded teams were. So I felt like it closed up or tightened up what the Xfinity field was. I thought it was a plus.
I mean, I guess the only downside might be that for body guys, the guys who hang,
you're going to eliminate people.
You're going to eliminate people.
You're going to eliminate jobs, because now you're just hanging pieces. You're not having to make pieces.
Right. And there's a certain craftsmanship that's part of stock car racing.
Yeah, there's an art to it. So you're gonna lose that artisan feel to it. Yeah. And it's just gonna go back to, we're just gonna assemble them.
Yeah. YouTube question: the Truck Series has dominated the news cycle this week with Chastain's disqualification, Sauter Hill incident. Do you believe, Kyle Petty, there is such a thing as bad press? Is all controversy good and positive for?
Let's ask Donald Trump. No, sorry, I just thought I'd throw that out.
It's the first time the president has made an appearance on NASCAR
President
America.
on NASCAR America. I think there is such thing as bad press. I do. Yeah. I do. And if our sport shows up in the national conversation because of accidents, because of fights, because of penalties, because of stuff like that, then that's not good. Mm-hmm. Because your average Joe out there, well, all of a sudden he will associate all these negative qualities. I only hear about racing when this happens. I only hear about it when this happens, when this happens, when this. Right. So I think, I don't think all publicity is good publicity in any stretch. Does it put you in front of a different audience? Yeah, but that audience, you still got. They need to watch.
You want to be in front of that audience for the right reason. You don't want to be the butt of jokes.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's take another call from Philip on NASCAR America Debrief. Philip, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I love you guys.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Philip.
My question to you guys is, Tony Stewart House Racing, they was on a roll last year. Now we got that new aero package this year. They're not doing so well. What is your all's aspects on what they're going to do this year with that new package?
Meaning, has the new package hurt Stewart Haas Racing? Is that your question?
Well, my question, last year, they was doing very well up until this year, last season. This year, they haven't had a win yet.
Right. So has it hurt them?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that the new...
Well, I'll go back to last year and correct me. Is really last year, I know we had Kurt and you had Clint who won some races, but it was really Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
It was a Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick carried everything over there.
Right.
Kevin Harvick's not having the year this year that he had last year.
Yeah.
But neither is. I mean, it's tough to repeat a year like that. Because that was a great year.
Yeah.
I thought he and Ryan.
Yeah.
But I will say it again, and I've said it on this show before, and on NASCAR America a couple times. A lot of what's happening to Kevin and those guys has been a little bit. I won't say a lot. Some of it's been self-induced. Mm-hmm. Okay, the wrong pit call at the wrong time, a wrong pit stop, a bad pit stop at the wrong time. He has gotten, and I watched him last week after the race at Michigan. Was that Michigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It's a couple weeks ago. Watched him. Once again, he said, we take the fastest car and don't win the race. You know what I mean? So in his mind, he has the fastest car. So I can't say that the aero package or what they have has hurt him as much as I think Kevin sometimes believes they're just not putting everything together. Now, I do believe it's hurt him a little bit because I don't think Clint has run as well, but I think Eric has run better, and I think Suarez is hitting his stride. So it's really hard to figure that team out right now as a whole. I just look at Kevin.
So when your barometer is your flagship driver, and he's just having kind of an off year.
Yeah, it's just a weird year. I think he's having a strange year. Yes.
Question from YouTube. Actually, a couple of questions about Jimmy Johnson. Do you think it's possible for him to get an 8th championship?
I'm going to say no, but I didn't think it was possible for him to get a 7th either. So how's that? And it's just the way that race played out in Homestead, because with 20 laps to go, I didn't think the 7th was possible. But it was, you can't say it's impossible. But with each passing week and the way they run, it becomes more and more improbable that the 8th championship is there, especially this year. Especially this year. Now, how long is he going to hang around and give it a shot? I don't know, man. You know, that only Jimmy can answer that question. But it's not getting closer. At this day in 2019, it's not getting closer.
Right. Let's take one more call from Donald. Donald, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hi, how are you today, gentlemen?
Good.
I have a question that's not related to any penalties or anything, I guess, but it's something that affects every NASCAR driver in almost every race. It's these pit road penalties. Okay? I've got a fishing boat that has a fish finder that tells me how fast I'm going so that I can make my lures wiggle just right. Okay? Why can't they have like a 2-digit digital readout on the dashboard that will tell them what their pit road speed would be, rather than look at the tachometer? Because depending upon the RPMs of the engine, you could be off quite a bit in your speed. And I think a digital readout would be more accurate. It wouldn't be dependent on the RPMs of the engine, just like my bass boat.
Why does NASCAR do it the way they do it?
To make it more difficult for the drivers.
Why
don't they install a speedometer? Why don't they put a pit road speed limit? Because they want it to be difficult.
I don't think they want the drivers looking at a speedometer while they're racing, because their techniques and what they're doing, watching their marks and everything, aren't dependent upon how fast they're going.
You could do it in a way, though, Donald. You could do it in a way, like right now they mount lights on there.
They have lights.
If you were able to, I mean, they could do it if they wanted to do it.
I don't know why, and I will say this. Is IMSA, is that what it's called now again?
Sports cars.
Sports car. The sports car series. Running the 24-hour race. Is you would come down pit road, hit a switch, and no matter how much you were in the gas or what gear you were in, it would only turn so many RPMs and run that speed. That gave you the speed. It was a limiter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If you were in first, if you were in second, it just gave you that speed. You knew which gear to go to. NASCAR has a mile per hour, and it's time over distance. It's between the lines, okay? So that's where the speedometer thing is a goofy thing, because as I jet out of my box, I can jump up to 60 or 70 miles an hour, but I know I got to slow down to 25 before I get to the next line to average that speed out. So it's not a speed per se, it's a time over distance, and that's hard for fans to grasp sometimes. It is the time from this line to this line is where they always get caught.
Right.
It's not the other way. So that's why you can see. That's why, and let me explain. That's why the end of pit road or the first pit box coming in can be a preferred box, because you just launch out and you can run wide open, because there is no speed limit leaving your box. If you're the first or second box, there is really no speed limit. Coming in, there is no speed limit coming in, because you just jump in your box. But it's really hard. I don't know why NASCAR continues to go off the tack and the teams just fine-tune the lights, and you'll hear them talk sometimes. I was only in the yellow.
Right.
I wasn't in the red. My red light wasn't on, because the lights sometimes will say it'll be a green one or 2 or 3 yellow ones and then a red one, and they'll max out to the end of the yellow one where it just tickles the red one, and they get a speeding penalty. Listen, I don't understand.
It's a conversation that I've heard going on for at least 15 years. I mean, I can remember Jimmy Johnson 7 or 8 years ago getting busted multiple times at Martinsville, and he was asking for, why can't they give us the speeds? You know, you mentioned time over distance, Kyle. Give us the speeds in real time.
In real time.
Tell us where we are at every point on the track instead of telling us at certain sectors. So, I don't know. I think eventually maybe we'll get to that place, but not today. Let's wrap up with a YouTube question. Trevor Houston wants to know, What is the NBC crew looking forward to the most on June 30th when NBC takes the reins of race weekends at Chicagoland Speedway? What are you looking forward to?
Slide job. I hope a great race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Listen, I think I really enjoyed and have enjoyed, and I will say Dale Jr. and Jeff and Steve and Rick in the booth. And I think the more races we did, the more that came together, the more it became conversational, and it became just four guys watching a race. You know what I mean? And I think our guys on pit road are as good as there are. When you look at Marty and Kelly and Dave and Parker when he's there, you know, you look at that. So I just hope we have a good race so that talent can show what they do.
Yeah.
Because they are so good. And I really enjoy that part of it. So I'm looking forward to going.
Me too.
Getting there.
Hopefully we'll get as good a race as we got last year, and we'll kick it off right once again. That's it. Thanks for all your questions, your calls on NASCAR America Debrief. We appreciate you tuning in.